Alright, so I am back, and today we're going to do another rant of the week. Sorry, the dog's right here. He's got his bone, so what can I do? It's not like I can take away from him just because I want to do a video. Anyway, I actually had somebody get really mad at me because I have a dog that made noises in the background. It's like, go fuck yourself, dude. It's called life. You know, I mean, my whole world can't revolve around this thing. Doing these reviews and stuff. It can't. It's got to spill over a little bit. So, anyway, so today's rant of the week is going to be about weapons. And more importantly, about figures being able to hold their weapons. Because it's get to the point where it's getting really irritating. I mean, how hard is it to make sure that a figure can hold a weapon before you send it out to the general population? I mean, do you guys not test it out? I mean, and it's not third parties. Just third parties. Hasbro does it too. So far, I don't think I can't recall any Takara figures that can't really hold their weapons aside from the G2 Sideswipe, because that one engine block gun is really big and heavy. He can't support it. Which that's just like whatever, because it's just too big. But okay, let's do a few examples. I don't have the figure, but Prime RC. There's a good example. This is a Hasbro figure that failed at holding a weapon, and the reason is because it's a 5mm port hand, but she's got the open hand thing gimmick going on. So her hand was like open like this to hold the weapon, but they didn't make the weapon completely circle. Instead, it was like half a circle. It was like circular on the top and bottom, and then flat on the sides. So it's like you put it into her hand, and she could just barely hold it. But then if you tap the gun, it would slide this way and fall out. It was like, why not either make this hand just a little bit more, closed, or make the handle circle? Because I put regular 5mm ports into her hand, and it holds just fine. So it's like almost deliberate at this point. Like when it comes to stuff like that, Hasbro making weapons that like are too big for their hands or a little bit too loose, and we've all seen it over the last few years. Not too much with Combiner Wars. I'll give them that. Most of the Combiner Wars stuff, they can hold their weapons pretty well. They have really crappy weapons, but that's a different story altogether. But the big thing it's just like when it comes to 5mm ports, Hasbro first started using them all the way back in G1. There are some figures in G2, I believe. I want to say Laser Optimus Prime had 5mm ports. Beast Wars, I know, like Rampage and Depth Charge had 5mm ports. Beast Machines, I'm sure there's... Well, no, not many of them actually had weapons. And then RID, some of them had 5mm ports, but a lot of them had individual weapons as well. It was Armada... no, it was Energon where they really standardized the 5mm ports, where across the board everyone's going to have 5mm ports so they can all interchange the weapons. That was a big gimmick in Energon. So it's like they've been using 5mm ports for years, so there's no excuse for them not to be able to hold weapons properly. Yeah. So, and then a third party comes along. And they're making all these, great weapons and stuff like that, and great figures, but they can't hold their fucking weapons. And it's just like, what are you doing? You know, it's like none of my fans toys dinos. These are $200 a piece, and not one of them have the appropriate tolerances to hold both their weapons. They can hold one. Some of them can hold one, but not the other. And that's because, like, some of them have chrome on it, and that fits in perfectly in their hand. And then the one without the chrome, they can't hold. $200 a piece. I mean, I got them for a lot cheaper. True, but the point is that, you know, most people bought these things at $200 a piece, and they're not holding their weapons. You know, and the only thing that's keeping their weapons in is their individually articulated fingers that are actually really tight and really well toleranced. Now, other characters, you know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Let's see here. Oh, let's talk about the MMC guys. Now, I love the MMC Predacons. I do. With the exception of their weapons. I'm really not a fan of their weapons. Because they're utilizing 5mm ports. But if you're going to use 5mm ports... Now, he's not the best example of this. Don't make it so that you have to wedge them into the hands. You know, you got to be able to just slide them in. Because this... You know, having to force this in there... could damage something. I mean, this is not the best example because he's actually a pretty good one. But the Fortis and Bovis, those two I had major problems. If you remember my original reviews, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bovis. Because of the way his knives are set up, I had a hard time getting it into his hands, and because of that, I broke his thumb off. Yeah, it's like that's just ridiculous. I mean, you shouldn't have to wedge those 5mm ports into their hands. You should be able to just slide it in. It just I don't know. It just gets irritating, you know. It's like, I spent how much on this figure, and it can't hold its weapon. Generations Toys. They fixed it with their Scrapper, but their Mixmaster. The handle was too short, so he couldn't really hold it. You could get it into his hand, but it only held by like a millimeter. And then it's like you slightly touch it, or he moves slightly and it pops out, and it's like, okay, well, now he's not holding a weapon anymore. Let's see. DX9 Hot Rod, or Rodimus. Amazing figure. His Target Master blows ass, though, because he can't really hold it all that well. And it just blows ass because this is Rodimus Prime. Rodimus Prime never had a Target Master. I would have much preferred if he came with just regular rifles. And that's another thing. Let's make sure that these figures come with the appropriate weapons for the figure, because Hasbro did it too when they released the MPO9 mold for US. They gave him a Target Master 2, which was actually better than this guy's Target Master. But at the end of the day, it's like Hot Rod should come with a Target Master. Rodimus should not. That's just plain and simple. Rodimus did not have a Target Master. I don't know. You know, it's like some things are just so irritating. Figures that come with like the fully articulated hands, but the fingers aren't that tight, so they're a little bit loose, and you're relying on that little peg in their palm to hold the weapon together. If they tolerance that peg wrong, then you have to rely on the fingers, but the individually fingers won't hold the weapon because they're too loose, and it's like, that's why I hate articulated fingers, not to mention they look a little wonky. Case in point, Galvatron. You know, his fingers look a little wonky. And I wouldn't rely on putting any weapon in his hand. Luckily, it's plugged into his arm. This was, what was this, my figure of the year, I think? I mean, I love this figure, don't get me wrong, but the fingers bug me. And it would bug me more if he was supposed to be holding something. It just... I look at this guy next week, and he's got an issue with, he's got this chrome gun that he holds decently, not perfectly, decently, and then he's got the purple gun that he can't hold at all because it's too loose in his hand. $80, and he can't hold his weapon. I like the chrome one. I would have preferred the purple one, I think. Let's see here. I think the Make Toys guys are good. I know my first version of Hexatron, I had a problem with his weapons. They would pop out of his hands too. That's because they weren't... It was the same problem as the Prime RC, where the handles on the guns were flat instead of full circled. So like these ones are full circles. There you go. Come on. Yeah, there you go. So these are full circles, so that he actually holds it pretty well. But the original weapons were flat on the sides, so he couldn't hold them very well. And that was one of those really irritating things. It's like, okay, this is $150 figure, and he can't hold his fucking guns. Why? It's just such an oversight that some of these companies are doing, and it's just like, are you kidding me? We're spending this kind of money, and it's like they're working on all these other great things. Like, he's got amazing paint apps. He looks amazing. But if he couldn't hold his weapons, I'd still be. He'd just be another. He'd just be another first version. It's just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the first version, but it's just. It's hard to explain. I mean, you guys see it in my videos. Like, this guy right here, this Fans Project Kickback. He's got the little knives, and they're flat on the sides, and then he's got the open palm thing. So it's like, if you wanted him to hold the weapon straight up like this, you're good. But if you wanted him to do like something like this, like hold it to the side, he can't hold it. There's just nothing for him to hold. It just sits there in his palm. It wiggles around, and so, I mean, you can't do that. I mean, I know it's, how many people are going to put a knife sideways, like that, as opposed to holding it natural, But the point is that that's an issue. If you get the Fans Project, the armored battalion that comes with the weapons for these guys, the actual guns, same problem. They have flat handles and they have the open hands. You can't do that. It does not work. It needs to have the full circle, or you need to do something better with those hands. I'm okay with them having the slightly open hands, like a lot of figures do these days. But if it's at the sacrifice of being able to hold the weapon, then it's not worth it to me. I would much rather them have the full, circle hand. I'm trying to look at an example. Like little Bumblebee here. He's got a full circle hand. It doesn't open or close or anything. His gun's not 5mm port, but they tolerance it perfect so that he can hold his gun. There's no issues here whatsoever. He's got his gun. It's perfect. It's not that hard to do. Now, let's talk about some really good handhold, tolerance weapons. I mean, MP does a pretty good job having to wedge it in behind the thumb and it tabs in, and then usually it works pretty well. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not perfect, but consistently they're probably the best. But make toys for the bigger bots. This is probably the best designed weapon holding that there is, because so you look at the handle here and you see those ridges right there at the top. So this top part slides into his hand right there. So you slide that in and it ain't going nowhere. You've got that in. It's 100% good to go. Fingers are not. If I think everyone should be using this right here. This design for weapon holding. Everyone should be using this because it's absolutely just perfect. Then, companies like X-Transbots and KFC who like to use their individually articulated hands, which I hate. But if they had this little slider bit in the back, then, whatever. Who cares about the fingers? Because this ain't coming out. This is perfectly toleranced. But then again, if you cover chrome, it probably won't fit. And then you tolerance for chrome and you don't put chrome on the handle, then it's not going to fit. So you just have to be able to work with it, work on it. Don't just be like, okay, it's good enough, let it out. Again, the Fans Toys Dinobots are consistently the worst. I would say Fans Toys in general, and I really don't mean like it overall. But when it comes to the holding their weapons, Fans Toys is consistently the worst at being able to accomplish this feat. The individually articulated figures that are well toleranced is good to hold the fingers and hold the weapons into place. But if you didn't have those, not one of my Dinobots would be able to hold all their weapons. Some will be able to hold some of their weapons. Some will be able to hold none of their weapons. But none of them would be able to hold all of their weapons. Let me just grab scoria here. So it's like, let's see here. Opening up the hand. Okay, so he's holding that one all right. Now let's do the sword. Of course, he's probably going to be able to be just fine. I haven't actually messed with him. Oh, they put the hilt in the way of the bottom. So you actually have to hold it at the side. So there's an issue there. See? You can't hold a sword. So you have to actually move the fingers in around it. And he's got to hold it at an angle. He can't hold it straight up and down. So that's a double whammy right there. He can't hold his sword, and he can't hold his, and he can't hold it straight up. Which that's just stupid. That's just poor design choice. I mean, they're knocking the rest of the figures out of the park with Fans Toys. Don't get me wrong. I love their Dinobots. I do. Some of their tolerances aren't the best, but the weapons, I mean, and Hasbro is notorious at this one too, where they give them a weapon, but they don't bother testing to see if they can actually hold the weapon. Where the back part of the gun is too far, it's too big for the forearm or something like that. I can't think of anybody at the moment. But it just, you can't fit it into their hands, and you're just sitting there like, why would they make something like that? And it's like, oh, because they just didn't care. They just threw a weapon in the box and said, there you go. And that's kind of how I feel with Scoria's sword right there. Yeah, the sword looks great, don't get me wrong. But if he can't hold it straight up and down, and he has to hold it like this, I'm sorry, that bugs me. That bugs me for a $200 figure that you have to do that for. That you cannot hold it straight up and down. Or hold it in general. Swoop. I know Swoop and Slag had the same problem, or Snarl had the same problems with something. My KO Grimlock holds his weapons better than Fans Toys Dinobots do. And I'm not sitting here saying like that they also all need to be integrated into the alt mode or whatever. I'm fine with them sitting on the weapons off to the side. It's something that has to happen sometimes. But if they can't hold their fucking guns, they're, what's the point of coming with guns? And it's just really super irritating sometimes where things aren't toleranced right, or things aren't designed properly, or things aren't thought out enough. You see it. You see it so many times, and it's just like, it's mind-boggling sometimes why they wouldn't just be like, let's give it another week so we can, put a little extra plastic in his hand or something like that, or put a little extra plastic on his sword, or you know what? Hey, you know what? This sword's not fitting right in his hand because we made the crossguard too big. Why don't we make a new sword, and this time let's make it to the right proportions so that it fits in his hand properly. Really? Would that have been so hard to do? It just... It's so disappointing sometimes. To pick up such a brand new figure, such an expensive figure. We're talking, my Autobot shelf here, if we go retail, I've got well over $1,000 worth of figures on this shelf here alone, and almost $1,000 on this shelf here. And it's like, when you're spending that kind of money, you expect them to be able to hold their weapons. And if they can't hold their weapons, it's just, it pisses me off. I'm dumbfounded sometimes. It's just like, are you kidding me? $200 figure and he cannot hold a gun. I don't know what else to say. It's just, it's like, these guys, they plug into the back, but they don't plug in very well, as you can see. So you rely on the fingers to hold it in. And this was $150 set, $130 set, something like that. Unique Toys Predicate, the individual swords. Some of them would fit in the hands just fine. Others, you'd see the plastic cracking as you put it in. Same with the TFC Predacons. You'd put them in some of their hands and you'd see it like cracking, or you put it in the hand and the weight of the sword would pull the hand off. It's just like, or because they didn't add tabs into the forearms, it'd flop down. Oh yeah, memories. I was debating on getting that set again, and then things like that. I was just like, oh yeah, that's why I detest that thing. But yeah, okay. So I guess that's it. I don't really know what else I could talk about. It just it pisses me off. It needs to stop. These guys need to stop doing this. We're spending so much money on it. The least they could do is spend an extra minute or two to make sure that sword or that gun is tolerance perfectly for their hand. Because, again, if they can't hold their weapon without any help, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I know that we can all fix these things. We can all fix these issues really easy. You throw a little bit of polish on there, or you throw a little super glue on there, or something. I remember my KO sideswipe, like, I couldn't get him to hold his gun, so I put a little bit of my green stuff in there. That tightened it up perfectly. And that stuff dries into plastic, so that I had no issues after that. I know we can fix these things on our own. That's not the point. The point is, for $200 or $80 or $120, we shouldn't have to. Hell, for $15 Hasbro figure to get it more right than wrong, and these third-party companies that we're spending hundreds of dollars on can't get it right at all, that's mind-boggling. I mean, that is pathetic. QC, aside, they all have their own QC issues and whatever. We've all had QC issues with our third-party figures, and yes, they should figure those things out too. But the weapons, like, are consistent across the board. Like, none of these figures here can hold their weapons properly, and that's just how it was made. And it was just like across the board, and it's just kind of like, what the hell? They just don't try hard enough. So anyway, what are your guys' thoughts on the situation? I think it's a plague that needs to be, that there's no reason for it to be around. I mean, I could forgive it once or twice, but like Fans Toys consistently across their entire range, it's like, is that their second calling card, the squeaky plastic and not holding weapons? I don't know, guys. It shouldn't be that hard.